So our gospel tells us today, as we begin this season of Lent, not to pray, fast, or give alms so that others can see. So avoid hypocrisy. So let's say we're pretty good at that. There's still a problem about Lent, though. I seem to find that each year, it's sort of like New Year's resolutions, that I stumble and don't completely do everything I'd hoped or promised myself and God that I would do. And so often, I'm a failure at Lent. I don't do it right. I don't do everything I set out to do, and my attempts are disappointing. And if I don't keep my promises, if I eat chocolate when I thought I wasn't going to, if I lose weight instead of gaining, or gain weight instead of losing weight, whatever things I decide to do, I'm a failure if I don't do it. So what's the option? Well, the other option is to be a fool. Let's say I didn't eat chocolate. Let's say I gave up everything I wanted to give up. Let's say I read and prayed so much, even more than I promised. Let's say I did a better Lent than I'd ever done before. I'd be a fool to think that this makes God love me more. Because that's not how God works. God doesn't really even care. He loves us anyway. He loves the sinner and calls the sinner back to reconciliation. It seems the only options are being a failure at Lent or being a fool if we think we've won Lent. Because you can't win Lent. That's not how it works. One of the things that I learned about prayer, and I'd like to think that even though I didn't learn it in the seminary, it's still valid. I learned it from my grandmother. She told me that if we fall asleep saying our prayers at night, the angels finish them for me. And I love that idea. I love that idea that if I fail at what I attempt to do for God, that it's not held against me. Because it's our desire to pray that's far more important than our success in doing it right. It's our desire to want to be of service to others, to try to help others, even if sometimes we bungle it up and we're not really helping at all, but we're trying. You see, God loves us already. And it's not that we have to earn his love by doing a good Lent. We have to try to do a good Lent because we are responding to God's love for us. We are saying, as far as fasting goes, we believe that God is the source of everything. We believe that everything we have comes from God, even the food that we eat. And so we abstain a bit to remind ourselves of the need of God. With almsgiving, the same thing. We give of what we have to others in imitation of Christ, who told us we should love our neighbors. And we don't do it because we have to earn God's love. We do it because we know we are loved by God. And this is how we return God's love. Being a fool or being a failure, it doesn't really matter. We can try our best at Lent, and if we fail, we only ask for forgiveness and God gives it to us freely. There's always going to be sin in our lives. God doesn't expect us to be perfect. He expects us to understand that we are forgiven whenever we turn back to him. God expects us to share forgiveness, knowing that we have been forgiven. We sin, and God gave us his Son to teach us that sin and death are not the end, that love and forgiveness is stronger. We sin, and so God gives us the church, a community, and he gives the sacraments, a way in which we can concretely know that God's love is with us. We sin, and God gives us, through the church, this season of Lent, where we remind ourselves again that everything comes from God, that everything we have is a gift, and that we are called to give of what we have to others in imitation of Christ. Pray, fast, give alms. You're not going to win, but you're going to be loved by a God who already loves you.